So the history is being made, and we continue with our rolling coverage and uninterrupted broadcast on this special broadcast Modi 3.0, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India has taken oath as country's Prime Minister for a third historic time today on Sunday.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
In ceremony at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, which was attended by over 8,000 people, including delegates and special invitees and guests, including leaders from India's neighborhood. This is Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's third consecutive term as Prime Minister of India. The National Democratic Alliance, led by his Bharatiya Janata Party, won the recently held general elections in India. Leaders who took oath as cabinet ministers include Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, JP Nadda, Nirmala Sitharaman, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, S. Jaishankar and also H.D. Kumaraswamy, among others. Prime Minister Modi taking oath today along with at least 72 ministers of the new coalition government. He will be leading a coalition government in his third term, or Modi 3.0 as it is called, for the first time since he became Prime Minister in 2014, with a huge mandate and a huge brand Modi win after 10 years of the UPA rule. We're going to talk about this new Cabinet 3.0, the underlying message, the representation, the balance and the forward-looking overall agenda of the government under the Prime Ministership of Narendra Modi, the third term. It's worth mentioning here, Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, is the second Prime Minister after Jawaharlal Nehru to be elected for the third term in a row. Prime Minister Modi won the Lok Sabha elections from Varanasi constituency by a huge margin of 1.5 lakh votes, a margin, and it only got bigger and better over his first win in 2014 and then 2019 and then 2024. And on the special broadcast, we have a very, very special guest joining us all the way from Arizona in United States of America, whose love, respect for Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India is no great secret. I'm very, very pleased to welcome on the show Mary Millben, American actress and singer. In fact, she has also wished Prime Minister Narendra Modi, here is lovely Mary joining us on the show. She has wished Prime Minister Narendra Modi soon after his swearing-in ceremony. And Mary, I'm going to come to you, but before that, let's talk about your tweet also. And taking to the social media X, the actress said, and I quote, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's greatest responsibility is to be the God's ambassador. That's her tweet. And she also says, my op-ed in New India Abroad today as Shri Narendra Modi takes his oath as Prime Minister of India for the third consecutive time. A new India begins on his historic day. In fact, if you could just do a quick recall of those magnificent visuals earlier in last year in America, where American singer, she touched Prime Minister Modi's feet and sought blessings after singing India's national anthem at the concluding event for the official state visit of Prime Minister in June 2023. And that's the moment on your screen. Can we have Mary please on the screen as we start talking to her?
Namaste to you, my dear. Namaste. It's so wonderful to be with you here today. Your evening, my morning. So it's wonderful to see you. And you look beautiful, I tell you. I loved, as I was watching the ceremony this morning.
Thank you, Mary.
Seeing everyone. It's beautiful. You look beautiful here.
It's amazing. It's such a pleasure and honor for us to have you on this special broadcast on DD India. Namaste from India. And I have a guest in the studio who also wants to talk to you. Thank you very much. Okay. So, Mary, your team has been telling me that you were glued to Indian televisions on the election day. That's the yes, and even today, it's early morning there in Detroit. So, and taking a cue from your tweet, could you please share your thoughts with the viewers of DD India in India and abroad, and your fans also?
Sure. Well, it's just wonderful to be here with you. Thanks for having me on here at the conclusion of such a historic, wonderful day and few days in celebration of the Prime Minister entering this historic third term. That is correct. I'm a political junkie at heart, so I have on the TVs in the house just about every country, certainly under the election season, rolling full time. But I certainly was engaged during your election season there, the last day of voting, and certainly the last several days as we were approaching the ceremony today. And it's really just a historic time, not for India, but for the world. Prime Minister Modi taking his third term, which, if I understand, has not been done since 1962, if I'm not mistaken. So it is a historic day for India, but really for the world. What Prime Minister Modi has done for India and positioning India in the world, in the region, is really remarkable. And so that's why you see such an energy across the world, a celebratory energy across the world for the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister continuing is certainly important to the United States, and now you see important to the stability of the world. In my tweet, certainly,
yes,
today, op-ed that was shared in New India Abroad, I just was reiterating some thoughts that I certainly said a few days ago in regards to the Prime Minister's third term. Of course, he was elected by the people, chosen by the people, and so the democratic process has played out.
Okay.
But I certainly believe that this third term has more to, not so much to do with, the democratic process. I really believe it has to do with the spiritual process.
Okay.
To have, and we can get into that certainly.
Yes. And you've seen the entire ceremony and our magnificent lawns of Rashtrapati Bhavan. at least 8,000 invitees there. It has certainly become not really an ornamental event, so to say, but people's event. And that's the vision of Prime Minister Modi. You have yourself seen many presidential elections and the events out there. So how do you look at this one?
Well, you're right. I've had the great pleasure to work for a United States president as a young staffer in the Bush administration, Bush 43, and now I've had the great pleasure to sing for 4 consecutive U.S. presidents. I had the wonderful opportunity to sing for the 58th presidential inauguration of President Trump for his victory celebration. So I've been around American politics. I've been around presidential inaugurations, oath ceremonies, and so
Yes.
I understand the importance of these moments, and they are very symbolic because you come out of a very divided time, and when those oath ceremonies, presidential inaugurations come about, they're a real symbolic moment for a country to really have a healthy, moral, spiritual reset that is important for the betterment of the country. And so that's what today was. That's how I view today for the Prime Minister. It was certainly a moment for him to publicly acknowledge coming back into the responsibility as Prime Minister, taking that oath under God. And then it was a moment for the entire country to collectively have a healthy, moral, spiritual reset. It doesn't matter today whether you voted for the BJP, the INC, or whatever political party.
Okay.
Today was a moment that celebrated being Indian. It was a moment to celebrate being a part of a democratic process. And I hope that today's oath ceremony, now going forward tomorrow and through the days as the Prime Minister continues to lead, that
we're playing those visuals. I'm sorry I'm interrupting you here, but I'm really compelled and tempted to ask you, when you touch Prime Minister Modi's feet in that diaspora event, what were the emotions that were going through? And today you seem to be as happy as the rest of us and excited to witness history in making.
Sure. It was a beautiful moment. I tell you, it was a great honor to be a part of the Prime Minister's state arrival visit to the United States. It was a wonderful time for the United States to experience the Prime Minister, for the entire country, whether those who were familiar with the Prime Minister or not, to have a great education on the wonderful leadership the Prime Minister has had in India and certainly across the world. And so it was a really meaningful moment to share the Indian national anthem with so many of my American family, and then to meet the Prime Minister and have some intimate moments on stage following that performance. I have great admiration for the Prime Minister, and so I when that moment was facilitated, I certainly wanted to honor the Prime Minister in front of the world and that gesture. And I feel that that's important, that going forward, after these election seasons, when the leader is in place, that we find moments where we can honor our leaders and certainly do that publicly.
Yes, but you also, on conversations earlier also, I remember you telling me that Narendra Modi is one of the most popular world leaders, quote unquote, in America. And now with this third term, how do you see that?
Well, I certainly see it as a positive. If I were to be a little candid, he certainly has proved all his critics wrong in the West, and that makes me happy because, unfortunately, there has been more critics arising in the West as it compares to the Prime Minister. But this third term, this historic third term, certainly has silenced those critics, and it has encouraged and more or less required everyone to come to the table in support of the Prime Minister and the future of India. And so it is an exciting day in the United States. I know, talking with a lot of friends and folks here in the Indian American community over the course of the weekend and certainly today, it's a wonderful time. And I certainly know, as many know, that the Prime Minister is the best leader for the U.S.-India relationship. And so he continues in this position is very important to the United States.
Yes. Mary, I have a very special guest in the studio also. Why special? Because he understands Indian government and politics like nobody else, and he's also an RSS ideologue, and sitting here is in our studio, Praful Ketkar, who would also want to talk to you, wishes to talk to you as well. So I'm leaving you with Praful Ketkar ji. Yes, Praful, please continue.
Yeah. Mary,
Namaste,
thanks.
sir. Namaste.
Mary, namaste, and thanks a lot for talking to you and making that point. Whoever you have voted, it doesn't matter. Now, Prime Minister Modi is Indian Prime Minister, and everybody should be,
That's right.
celebrating this moment. But I must ask you one important question. You literally called, him as God's ambassador in your write-up, and it is not very easy, as a celebrity, as a singer, endorsing a person like Prime Minister Modi, who has been traditionally seen as a very, divisive figure, and in the age of cancel culture, in the age of, acrimonies. How do you experience this, and how do you see this? How should we, rather spiritually and morally, handle these kind of attitudes which are really undemocratic and intolerant? How, what has been your experience, and what would be your suggestion to address this kind of phenomena?
Well, thank you so much for the question and the opportunity to address this. I tell you, in America, and certainly in India and countries that are democracies, it's a blessing that you can worship the God that you want to worship, exercise the religion and faith that is yours. That's a blessing. And in my experience and in my life, my faith is the root of that. There's no separation between the values and the convictions of my faith and what I do in the public sphere. It's a commonality that the Prime Minister and I share, because he is a very spiritual man. He's a very devout man of faith, and that part of his life as a man of faith works in tandem to who he is as a leader in India. And so I think it's very important, especially in this time when you have periods of elections and periods certainly of division, and certainly when you are given the task to unify Prime Minister's case, 1.4 billion people, your faith has to be the root, the foundation, the driving moral compass, and how you lead. And I really do believe that the Prime Minister's greatest responsibility now going forth as the leader of India is to really be God's ambassador. That's why he had to take an oath before God. It's the same process that the American president takes an oath before God. That association with faith in the context of leadership is very important. And those who are great leaders, those who leave a great legacy, those who go down in the history books, are those who are not afraid to have a moral compass during important times, during important times in the world. And so I believe that the Prime Minister is the right leader because he's not afraid to be vocal about his faith. He's not afraid to incorporate his faith and how he leads. And that's the same thing for me. I'll never be ashamed to share that I am a Christian woman, that my Christian values and my Christian faith is a part of how I lead, a part of how I contribute to the world, and a part of how I work to unify the world, especially through the vehicle of music and those other things that I play. So I appreciate your question. And I tell you, cancel culture and all these types of things certainly can try to deter you from being vocal about your faith and leadership, but should never be fearful to be who we are called to be by God in this time in the earth.
Okay, and having said that, Mary, your thoughts, the fact that India has actually transitioned or moved from a middle power to the major power under the leadership, yes, you're nodding out there, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, and now the third term. When he talks, the world listens?
Absolutely. When he talks, the world listens. We listen here in the United States, certainly countries across the world listen. And that just is credited to the Prime Minister's strategic leadership on how India really will continue to play a major role in the stability of the world. You certainly saw that on full display during the G20 summit held in India last September, and certainly the entrance of the African Union, which was a historic moment, certainly for not only Africa, but for the world. The United States had plenty of opportunities to welcome the African Union, and certainly Prime Minister Modi facilitated that symbolic moment. But India, the Prime Minister really has become a focal point for global stability. And so I certainly understand, as many in the United States understand, that the Prime Minister's leadership is important for not only the U.S.-India relationship, but our relationship with China,
Yes.
our relationship with Russia, our relationship with countries across the world where there may be mediation or greater conversation about global policy.
Okay, one last question, Mary, before we leave you. Your thoughts, Narendra Modi in term 3 and the rest of the world?
Well, I'm excited for the Prime Minister. Let me, certainly, I'm sure the Prime Minister will see our dialogue, so let me congratulate you, Prime Minister Modi, on your third historic term. I'm very happy for you, excited for you. And certainly I'm excited for the people of India. And the Prime Minister has my support. He has my prayers. I certainly praying for the Prime Minister every day. It's a tough job.
Yes,
and
yes.
he certainly it's a tough job during this time in India and certainly in the world. And so my encouragement
Yes,
certainly to
yes.
the Prime Minister, continue to be God's ambassador to the people of India. I would say, trust your leader. You know, give him time. You chose him to lead, just as God has chosen him to lead. And so, come behind the Prime Minister, join in a unified effort, and I tell you, great things will come out of this third term with the Prime Minister.
Okay, definitely so. Thank you very much, Mary Millben, actress and American singer, for joining us live all the way from US and sharing your thoughts. I've been also told that as you are very fond of everything that is Indian, our culture, our cuisine, our our traditional dresses,
Everything.
and of course, huge respect for our Prime Minister Modi. Thank you, Mary. Have a great day ahead. Thanks for joining.
Yes, thanks for having me. Look forward to seeing you.
Pleasure is ours. And let's quickly go over live to our newsroom. Our senior editors have been tracking this story, politically speaking, very, very closely as Praful continues to stay with us in our studio. And now the focus, in fact, Amit and Saubhagya, our senior editors, are joining us live from our news pit. The focus clearly now shifts to the cabinet. Cabinet 3.0. Amit, over to you. In terms of balance, in terms of allies, in terms of state representation, in terms of new faces, what does it look like to you? Over to you.
Well, Sakal, end of a very, very elaborate process of the cabinet formation. We saw the oath-taking ceremony, which lasted for almost 2 hours and 50 minutes. And this is the cabinet which the world saw in the last 2.5 hours. This will be leading India ahead for the next 5 years. Now, very, very important things, important takeaways from what we saw during the oath-taking ceremony. About 72 ministers, including the Prime Minister, took oath, and 30 cabinet ministers, 5 minister of state with independent charges, and 36 ministers, and a lot of new faces from the NDA allies. About 11 new ministers who are from the ally parties. They have also joined the cabinet. And also we saw some former chief ministers also being inducted in the Modi 3 cabinet this time. Now, what we need to look at right now is with the new faces, what is it that we would be expecting? If you look at, what we saw. So I'm actually joined by Saubhagya, our senior colleague, and so Saubhagya, what is your take? You saw this very elaborate cabinet formation, 72 people taking oath.
Yeah, Amit, this Ramon Naidu from TDP is the youngest cabinet minister ever. One interesting fact I'll tell you, that he surpassed his father's record. His father was 39 when he became the cabinet minister in Devagowda and I.K. Gujral's government in United Front government in 1996. Right. So before that, Agata Sangma, we are not going into that past, but it's a very good, memorable day for Ramon Naidu. He surpassed his father's record of being the youngest cabinet minister in Modi government, Modi 3, as you say, like that. Right. And like you said, that former chief ministers Manohar Lal Khattar, Shivraj Singh Chauhan and S.D. Kumaraswamy, 3 former chief ministers. Earlier it was Sarbanand Sonowal also in the cabinet. Also he is continuing in now. And 3 former chief ministers in the cabinet. And a lot of women faces. 7 women ministers compared to 2019. It was when Modi 2 cabinet. Modi he expanded the cabinet. Then 11 ministers. Right. And now Nirmala Sitharaman and Annapurna Devi are 2 cabinet ministers. And almost all the states are covered in the Anupriya Patel from Uttar Pradesh. Right. Then from Dhar the MP Thakur. Then from Gujarat one.
Right. So, Saubhagya, one thing I would like to ask, there were a lot of speculations about what would be the, composition of the NDA allies. So considering that about 11 ministers have been, sworn in today. So what do you think about it? Has it been fulfilled?
That is in the home of future. The cabinet is over now. Everything will get to know probably tonight or tomorrow morning, and the Rashtrapati Bhavan communique will come. Who will get what? You will come to know that. Yeah. So with that note, now the excitement is happening in Newark, India-Pakistan match.
Quite
everybody is excited about to watch the match.
Quite rightly. Again, I'll get back to the cabinet thing. Saubhagya, everybody is looking at the formation of the portfolios being allotted.
Yes. Amit, I'm sorry, I'll just interrupt you here for just 10 seconds. You will, of course, take this conversation ahead. Please stay standby because we have also on phone line from Rashtrapati Bhavan, of course, our colleague Dibendu has been tracking the story, reporting live. As we stay with the visuals, Dibendu, we were discussing about the cabinet and of course the portfolio allocation. Now we will not really jump the gun, but your thoughts, the balancing act and the representation of the coalition partners and allies and many new faces.
Well, Sakal, that's right. We have seen that the Modi government over the last 2 days have had fruitful discussion, and the cabinet that took oath today, in fact, the entire Council of Ministers that took oath today is, of course, has come after a lot of discussions and negotiations between all the NDA partners and the allies and the BJP. Remember, there had been hours-long meeting that happened at JP Nadda's residence just a day back, where all these crucial decisions and negotiations did take place, where TDP, TDP, JDU and all the ally partners were there. They sat on the table, they discussed, they negotiated, they came to a conclusion that, all right, TDP on record have said that what is more important to them is, of course, getting this special financial package for the state of Andhra Pradesh rather than getting X number of ministries in the cabinet. So, they had laid down their strategies, or in fact their demands clearly in front of the BJP. So, of course, and that's how the cabinet expansion plan materialized, and it happened in a very, very short time. So, of course, many new faces this time around. We have at least 3 former chief ministers taking oath, including Assam's former chief minister Sarbananda Sonowal, from Madhya Pradesh Shivraj Singh Chauhan, and from Haryana Manohar Lal Khattar. Okay. Apart from that, as our other colleague was saying, one of the youngest MPs from TDP took oath today as a union minister. So, of course, many news in this Modi 3.0. But of course, the cabinet portfolio distribution communications is yet to reach any of us. That will be very, very crucial to see because who is getting what we have been.
Yes.
What we have been reporting is that almost 72 MPs have taken oath, out of which a little over 50 of them will be given the Minister of State.
All right. Okay. Dibendu, I'll have to really cut it short here, but we will also come to you in a while because this broadcast continues. And Amit, just a quick wrap up.
Yes, Sakal, another thing is very interesting because, BJP has been led by Mr. JP Nadda so far. And with Mr. Nadda also taking oath and he as a minister now, which means that he has been inducted in the cabinet and of course he will be assigned some portfolio. So again, I would like to bring in Saubhagya. So what is your take on that with Nadda, Mr. Nadda, who is the president of BJP, now being inducted in the cabinet?
Amit, his tenure has been extended, so you will get a new BJP president in some time.
Yes,
so
Amit.
who will become BJP president? That will another a guess, which no one can tell.
Okay.
So that's all from here in the newsroom, and we'll keep on getting you updates, Sakal, as the things develop out here.
Yes, because this broadcast will continue. Many thanks to Bhagya and Amit for that quick update. And Dibendu, thank you also joining us. And before we wrap up this wheel of the broadcast, Mark, my colleague, is going to join on the other side. You want to add something to the new representation? And there's also an underlying message here, seeing those new faces?
Oh, yes. See, if you see the faces like Pabitra, Raksha Khadse, this guy from TDP who is just 36 years old, Rammohan Naidu, Rammohan Naidu. So, there are a lot of young faces who have come up. They are in their 30s somewhere, and they definitely bring in
And
fresh.
it was an individual oath ceremony.
And of course,
which extended.
yes, yes, extended.
And I think that is also a big first.
Yes, and Chirag also joining the from the allies side. Murlidhar Moh, who is from Pune, is MP from there. He was earlier mayor there. So it is a very interesting composition. The way Prime Minister has maintained the balance of various states. There is a lot of representation from SC and ST
I was coming
reserve
to that.
constituencies. Remember last time BJP had won
Okay.
97, 98 constituencies out of 131. So now coming down to 55, I think now this should be, and this will be, it's an indication that this will be a focus
Okay.
of
And there are no
BJP.
coalition compulsions.
There
It's a
are no,
balanced-
Prime Minister has clearly
Clear,
shown
yes.
that he is the boss.
And
he has taken
everyone
the-
taking oath individually is in
Individually.
itself is a
Yes,
message
yes,
that your
yes.
performance in the polls has mattered the most, and that is something which is acknowledged. Thank you very much. We of course will continue with our guest in the studio, but I'll have to slip into a short break on this special broadcast. On the other side, my colleague Mark is going to join us and take this forward. Stay with us on DD India.